everyone, it's Ashley here. Welcome back to my channel. We are finally in one of my favorite times of the year. We have made it to spooky season. I love October so much. For one, it's my birthday month, and for two, it is Halloween time. It's spooky season. It is literally one of my favorite times of the year. I love things that are spooky and creepy. I am definitely not a scary movie type person, but anything else that kind of is not horror, I'm here for. So I am so happy we finally made it to October, and on top of it, the fall weather is starting to settle in. It feels so nice outside. It is beautiful. So I hope that you all are enjoying your October so far and are getting ready for spooky season as well. I have all of my Halloween decorations out currently. I don't have a lot because I'm still in my apartment, but I have a decent amount out and I absolutely am obsessed with how they turned out this year. Also, in other news, this week is the first episode of the last 7 episodes of Supernatural.
What?
I can't believe we're here finally, and I am nervous, I am sad, I am terrified, I am excited. There are so many emotions I'm feeling currently. I've been seeing all the trailers and stuff they've been releasing. I haven't recorded reactions because there's been so many that have been released, but there have been so many, and I've cried, I've screamed, I've been so... I don't even have to describe how I have felt, but we are almost here to the end, and that's... oh man, I can't even think about that right now. And the good news though is that we are getting new episodes again, which is really awesome. We've been waiting since March for them to come out again. So I am excited to at least have some new episodes. And in the theme of all of that, I decided that today I would do another Supernatural video since this is the week Supernatural comes back. So for today's video, I decided that I would do a review of these Supernatural books. These are the mass paperback books that were done for the show. Now you might not know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, I'll show you an example of what one of these books looks like. They are these little mass paperback books, and they are based on the show. So the show did not come from the books came from the show. I've had friends ask me about that. It definitely is the other way around. The show was made first and then these books were written. But there are several of these, and these books are basically kind of like Monster of the Week episodes for the show. So there are a lot of these books, and whenever I first heard of them, I was really skeptical about reading them because I had not heard a lot about them. I didn't know if they were going to be good or a waste of time. I read a lot of fan fiction for Supernatural, so I'm used to reading about the show, but I was like, these are not fan fiction writers, so I was very curious on how they were going to turn out. I'd actually gotten one of these books before because I saw it at Barnes & Noble and never read it, and I had it for years. And then this past Christmas, my mom had gotten me a bunch of these books because she said that she found them and she was saying that I could have a collection of these books, which I'm all about collecting stuff from Supernatural, so that was fine with me. When quarantine happened, I decided that I wanted to try and start reading one. I was extremely nervous to start reading it because I had high expectations for them because of the show, so I was really nervous to start reading them. But I will have to say I was pleasantly surprised. I actually have enjoyed the books that I have read. I love reading, first off, so if you don't enjoy reading, these are probably not going to be your cup of tea, but I love reading. I love stories. That's part of why I love television shows and all that. I love building a world, and a fictional world especially, and getting immersed in it, whether that be on TV or in a movie theater or on a book that's in front of me. I will read all of it because I love diving into fictional worlds. Although reading a book that's based on a fictional world that I'm already love is kind of nerve-wracking because I, again, already hold expectations for what it should be. There are many things that I felt, and I'm going to kind of do this review as kind of a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to be explaining the full plot or any of the big things that happen in any of these books in case any of you want to read them. However, I will say a spoiler warning is going to be in type because of the fact that these books do get set in certain seasons of the show. I have books all the way up to season 12. And so I'm going to explain kind of how it relates to this season because I think that's really interesting. So if you're not caught up, you hear me talk about a book in a certain season, you can skip ahead or come back to this video later. But I want to go ahead and put that out there right now at the very beginning of this video, that I will be talking a little bit about what goes on in some of the seasons of Supernatural. However, I will not be explaining or spoiling what goes on in these books. So let's go ahead and hop into kind of a big review of what these mass paperback supernatural books are really about, and should you try and read one. So like I said, I already had a book that I'd had for a while and never read. I still haven't read that book, funny enough. But the first one I ended up reading was one that I thought that I might enjoy. I was trying to find a book that was kind of similar to fan fictions I've read because I figured that would be a good way to step into these books to see if I would enjoy them or not. And so the first one I ended up reading was called Night Terror. This book is written by John Passarella, and I might have butchered how I said his name, and I'm so sorry if I did. This book is set in season 6. The basic summary of this book is that Sam and Dean end up going on this hunt because there are tons of what seem like nightmares come to life happening in this town, and so they end up driving to this town to try and figure out what is going on and why these nightmares appear to be in their life. Obviously, normal hunter type stuff. There were many things that I was genuinely impressed by when I was reading this book. One of the biggest things is the fact that they pulled in some of the stuff happening in this season into the book. I was not expecting that. I figured this was going to be a standalone, so it wouldn't mention anything. When it said it was set in season 6, I was like, okay, cool. I'm not figuring that anything from season 6 is going to be talked about in here, but it was, and that's genuinely shocking to me. I didn't expect that, and it was a happy surprise. Again, as I mentioned before, I am talking about plot points in the certain season, so I'm going to be talking about season 6 now, so if you're not caught up, this is kind of a warning. So the one cool thing is that, and this is after Sam gets his soul back, it's set between Frontierland and Mommy Dearest. Obviously, Frontierland is when they end up going into the past where Samuel Colt is, and it's that old western town, and then Mommy Dearest is when they go after Eve, but this is set in between. So one of the cool things that they talk about in here is Sam losing his soul and kind of Sam dealing with it some, which I was not prepared for. We normally in the show unfortunately don't get a lot of their personal struggles and all that talked about or expanded upon sometimes. Sam losing his soul was kind of one of them. If you've watched my channel, you know how I feel about season 6. It's one of my least favorite seasons, and it's because there's so many plot points that were happening, and I think that Sam losing his soul was a plot point that was really big, and then as the season kept going, it kind of had to get, lessened for its importance because there were other big things happening. Hearing him kind of talk about it, because it's set obviously inner monologue wise, hearing him express how he was feeling with it was just honestly something that I was reading and I was like, finally! Like, he's talking about it. I'm like, finally, good. He needs to, this is what I want and crave, is for them to actually talk about the things that they've gone through, because they've gone through so much, and it'd be good. This one was really good at explaining all of this kind of stuff. I was genuinely impressed. The hunt was really good. So, yeah. So this supernatural book is called Nevermore. This is one of, if you can see by the pages and everything, this is one of the first mass paperback books that came out for the show. This book was written by Keith DeCandido, which I might have butchered the name again. I am so sorry. This book, actually, I missaid earlier. This was the first supernatural book written that was in this entire series of the mass paperback books. It was published in 2007. This book is set in season 2. It was between the Crossroads Blues episodes and Croatoan, and I was genuinely impressed. I ended up winning this in a giveaway, and so when I got it, I was like, well, I want to read this because this is, first off, early Sam and Dean, and I was very curious as to what was going to be going on in this book. This book is very interesting because there is a lot of different twists and turns that happen in it. Basically, Sam and Dean are ending up going to a local rocker's house that he says is haunted, and they are trying to figure out if there's a spirit there or not. However, at the same time, these murders are going on that resemble Edgar Allan Poe's poems, and so they're trying to figure out if there's a connection, what is happening. It is full of really big twists. The humor in here matches early season Sam and Dean very well. I couldn't put this book down when I started reading it because I was like, I need to know what's going to happen. It really pulled me in just like a normal supernatural episode would. One thing to know about these books is that these books do normally try to keep Sam and Dean's perspective the entire time, so their own inner monologue. However, it does some chapters switch perspectives of other characters in the book, including a original characters written by the author. Sometimes they're really interesting, and sometimes I skip through them, unfortunately. It's like I kind of want to read more of Sam and Dean. But if you love original characters, some of these characters are really good. The characters in this book, for example, were really well done. There are several other ones I read that have really good original characters that were written. It lets you know what's going on other than with just Sam and Dean there. So, for example, like when we are watching the show and we see someone get killed by a spirit, or we see someone who is going to be an important character who's like a guest star in an episode trying to do something on their own and then things go bad. That's kind of the same idea with this, except it's in a chapter and it's in that character's perspective of what's going on. So that also helps a little bit to know, because I thought it was going to be all from Sam and Dean's point of view. It was not. However, Nevermore was a really, really good book, and for the very first supernatural novel to come out, I give it a really good thumbs up. I think it was really well done. Another one of my favorites that I ended up reading was The Children of Anubis. So this book was written by Tim Wagner, and this was set during season 12. This was set after the one you've been waiting for. So this book is really interesting because Sam and Dean end up trying to go after a hunt that they think is werewolves. However, they also find out that in this town there's also jackals, and they worship the god Anubis, which come from Egyptian lore. And so they are trying to figure out, oh no, we need to deal with oh my, I had a heart attack. I have some Halloween spooky lights that I have on my photo wall. They just fell down in the middle of me filming. We love this. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. So basically, the guys are having to figure out what to do to be able to stop these supernatural creatures, and they end up getting the help of our own favorite little werewolf hunter, Garth. This was a really good book because not only do we get Sam and Dean, but we also get one of their allies, Garth. I also love Garth personally. He is one of my favorite characters on the show. Being able to read and also have Garth in it was really good. This story was actually really awesome. It has some really good brotherly angst and brothers needing help and some interesting storylines, like the new supernatural creatures that they bring into this story that we've never seen in the show. It's really awesome to be able to have something new and refreshing, and I will say that is something I have noticed with all of the books I've read. It's something new and refreshing that we've never seen before in the show, which does make it more enjoyable to read them. It's always something that caught me off guard, which is really enjoyable. It makes me want to read them because then I'm like, oh, this is something new. But this one was really good, and this one was set in later seasons. Most of these books are set in about season 4 to season 7-ish. That's what I've noticed. It's nice to find other ones that are in different seasons. Season 12, while it's not also one of my favorite seasons, this book really, I wish this had been an episode for the show, because this, I think, would have been a really good episode. Now, I have a lot of these books, and some of them I haven't read yet, so I'm going to go through them kind of quickly, just to give you guys kind of a summary and what I generally thought of it, because I think I've explained overall what's happening in these type of books, so I'm going to do that real quick. So those 3 I already shown you I have read before, so now I'm going to show you the ones that I have also read and finished. First, got Heart of the Dragon. This book is also by Keith DeCandido. This book is set after season 5 after changing channels. Castiel is in this book. Basically, Sam and Dean end up going to Chinatown because there are a series of killings going on there, and it's a hunt that their father, John Winchester, had done about 20 years earlier, and now they are coming back to finish the job. This one was also a really good read. I really enjoyed it. Also, really good twists and turns. Cass is in this book, so that also makes it a positive. Next up, we got Fresh Meat. This book is by Alice Henderson. This book is set in season 7 between Shut Up, Dr. Phil and Slash Fiction. Basically, in this book, Sam and Dean are on a hunt for this creature that seems to be flying, and there's walking corpses and so many other weird things. They end up getting there, and it's in these mountains. However, a blizzard storm comes in, and then the boys have to deal with the massive storm and the detrimental causes it does to them. It's a really interesting read. It's funny because I've read so many fan fictions similar to this, which is why I wanted to give this a shot, and it didn't disappoint. This was really well done. I wish that there had been a little bit, there was sometimes when I wished for a little bit more with this one, but overall I did enjoy it. And lastly, of the ones I've read, we have Carved in Flesh. This book is also written by Tim Wagner. This one is set also in season 7, and it It's set between Time After Time and the Slice Girls. This one is interesting because it takes the idea of Frankenstein and does it in a different way. Basically, they find a Frankenmutt in this town, which is a dog that is made with multiple corpses. Ends up leading them down a road of alchemists, mad scientists, biotechnology. This one was very different for the fact that it took in some of the scientific elements into the storyline, but I think that it helped it to elevate the story to something really nice. I actually enjoyed this book. I thought it was really funny, and I thought I was a lot of times like I was nervous. I will say there are some grotesque descriptions in this book, obviously because it's talking about like dead corpses that are sewn together. But if you don't mind reading that kind of stuff, it really was like, I got like sick feeling sometimes reading. I was like disgusted, but it made it seem more realistic. So if you're looking for the horror genre of what Supernatural claims to be, then this is a good one to read for that. So I have 3 books left to read though from my collection. They're on my list of things to read whenever I end up having time. First one is Mythmaker. This book is also by Tim Wagner. This was the first book I actually had ever gotten. I had not read it though still because I was waiting, because I feel like there's a special time for me to read this one. I don't know, but I haven't picked it up yet. Next one I have to read is Rite of Passage. This book is by John Passarella. The last one that I have to read, which is the newest one that I ended up ordering, is War of the Suns. This book was written by 2 authors. First is Rebecca DeSertine, and the second is David Reed. That's kind of it for my collection of the Supernatural mass paperback books. Overall, I will say they are not the show, obviously, but if you want to give a shot, or if you want kind of like an episode of the show, especially since the show is getting close to ending, these books are really good to be able to kind of read and feel like you're watching an episode of the show. Sam and Dean are written pretty well in these books overall. And I know personally, every time I picked one of these books up, I couldn't stop reading them. Like, I had to finish them. They don't take too long to read. I think I read most of them in a couple of hours. You know, I love the boys. I love that they also add some of the characters that we all love, like Castiel, obviously, and Bobby, and like Garth, I think there's more in some of the other books because there are several others of these books. If you want to give it a shot, I suggest trying and reading them and see what you think. They aren't going to be everyone's cup of tea, I will say that. I think it's really nice to also have something else to read that is basically like an episode of the show. It kind of gives you more content from the show, and I love that. So if you want to, you can pick them up. I will have links to all the books that I talked about in my link in the description below. If you are interested, you can get them on Amazon. I know some of them were at Barnes & Noble. There's probably other places you can order these books. And I'm going to have the Amazon links down below if you would like to try to order one and try reading one yourself. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, maybe learned a little bit more about these mass paperback books that you may or may not have seen before. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a like to let me know. I've thought about trying to talk more about some Supernatural books that I own, and I'm trying to also collect more Supernatural books. I love reading, and so I am really wanting to get more books. If you're not already, please hit that subscribe button down below. I make a lot of fandom content, Supernatural, Harry Potter, and many other things. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, hit subscribe because I post every Monday and I try to do really cool stuff. Also, like I said in the description below, I will have links to the books, but also down there is the links to my social media. I have a Twitter, an Instagram, and a TikTok, so if you would like to keep up with me, also you can follow me on all of those platforms. Thank you all so much again for watching this video. I hope that you have an amazing spooky season, and I will see you all next Monday. Carry on, my wayward people. Bye!